Hi, this is Josh, your EdTech Spec, and in this video we're going to be looking at inbox configuration and basic settings in education domain Gmails, although this will work for a regular Gmail as well. So here we are with your sort of standard Gmail inbox. The most basic setting, and I covered this in the orientation video, but if we go to is just how you're looking at this visually is called the display density. So if you get into the gear and then the very top line is display density. And this gives you like a little preview. By default, we have this nice spacing. You have the attachment preview bubbles, and that's what it comes with by default. You can switch to comfortable, which is basically the same spacing, but it moves the attachments over to this paper clip, and there's not really the preview bubbles. The kind of cool thing here is you can click onto the attachment bubbles without actually opening the email. So you can, if that's what you need to get to right away, you don't have to, it saves you a couple clicks. And then there's compact. Let's take a quick look at compact. I find this really dense and kind of hard to look at. You can see there's a paper clip here for an attachment, but I can't get to it without opening the email. If we go into display density, and you can change this, and sometimes if I'm on a smaller monitor, I will come to this. This is comfortable. Again, no preview bubbles, just the paper clips to tell me that there is one, and I've got to get into the email to get to it. So I'm going to switch back to the default. Now, that's by no means the only kind of inbox that I can have. So there's two ways to change the inbox configuration, and Gmail allows for tons of customization. So you'll often find no two Gmail inboxes, once people learn how to customize, look the same. So this is red, and I have this drop down here. So you have 406 unread emails, but it's asking me what inbox type do I want. This is the default. I can have important emails first. So if you don't know, how does it know what's important? Anything with these yellow sort of arrow tags, those are marking it as important. I could say unread first. So if you're a person who doesn't use a lot of your labels or folders here on the left, starred things first or priority inbox. So let's just take a look at what important looks like first. It's going to reload, and you see all these emails are important. It has, if I hover over here, it says that it's figured out it's important according to Google Magic. If I click that, it will teach it that this conversation is not important, and it will keep looking at that. Now, if I scroll down, you'll notice it says important first, and I have that little triangle, and I can collapse that, and then everything else, right? And it literally means everything that's not marked as important. So it's almost like a twofold. So notice this went from 406 to 33 emails. So let's try another one. Let's say unread first. Well, that switches it back to 406, and you see I've got the little collapsing triangle chevron thing here. So these are all my unread emails, and you'll notice it's 1 to 25 of 406. And then everything else is down here. These are all my read emails. I know that because they're not in bold, like this unread email, and they've got a gray background. And if that's useful to you, you can do that. Starred first, those all work the same thing. And then you have priority inbox, which is important and unread at the top, and then everything else. And those are all, functional, and there are different ways to sort it, but that's not how I personally set it up. I use what's called a tabbed inbox. So if you come over here under the gear, and then you hit configure inbox, so this is setting up your tabs. So these are categories, and each one you can turn them all on or off. The only one you can't turn off is primary. So if I hover over each one, it gives me an example of what's going to go into each category and how the tabs will look. You'll see in a second. So social, messages from social networks, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Pinterest. Promotions, you can see these are often sales things, but they are also, if you get a lot of email from vendors, they will tend to come, especially like Office Max or any of your office supply people. They come in here, and that way they're not cluttering up your inbox. Updates tends to be, if you're in a Google domain, this is where share notifications, if somebody shares something to you from Google Drive, they will often go into updates. And then you have forums. If you have This is like listservs, but also if you use big contact groups, that like if you can just type in principals@yourdomain.org, and it will send to all the principals in your organization, or teachers@myschool.org, and it will send all the teachers. Those will go into the forum sometimes. And here's the cool things. These are all trainable. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these on. And once I have these turned on, it says, do I want to include the start in primary? And I think I leave that on because when I start things, that means they're important. So I want them in my primary email inbox. But it also means like if I set up filters so that if something comes from my boss and I tell it to mark it as important and start, it will always go into primary and it won't go into the other tabs. So let's say, remember I had 406. Let's save these settings and see what we get. So now I'm down to 48. Now, does that mean I suddenly don't have all these emails? No, but under social, look, here's where all the Twitter and Facebook stuff went, right? So now this is 202 emails all on its own, is all the Twitter and Facebook stuff. Under promotions, we have stuff from YouTube, stuff from Bitly. These are all different vendors. These are telling me, some of these I'm interested in. Updates is the one that I find I usually have to pay the most attention to. This is a Google Classroom notification. If you use a different, if you use a different like Schoology or Blackboard or Canvas, these would come in here as well, notifications from your student system, from your SIS, your student information system would probably come in here. Google Drive share notifications would come in here. And then there are forums. I don't have anything in forums. So sort of the nice thing here is I can, for example, come in here, tick this box, and now it's selected the first 50 conversations. But you notice across the top it says select all 202 conversations in social. Now they're all selected, and I can mark them as read. I get this, hey, do you really want to do this bulk action? If I were deleting, it would do the same thing. So I'm going to click OK. And now when I uncheck here, now they are really marked as read. If we go to primary, I have my 47 most important emails, mostly from this guy named Joshua Harris for some reason. So those are the different ways we can do the inbox, but there's some other things in just sort of basic settings that I wanted to take a look at. So sometimes we get asked, can I look at more than 50 emails or 50 conversations on a page? You sure can. That's here. 50 is the default, but you can go up to 100 per page. You can go less if that's what you'd like. There's also an undo send period. So this used to be an option, now it's on by default. So once you click send on something, you'll notice down here, there's a little black box that says undo, or sometimes it's up at the top, undo. And this will let you send how long you have on each one. So 30 seconds is, I believe, the default. And so if you want the longest amount of time to pull that email back before it goes for realsies, then you can do that. Default reply behavior, I don't have one turned on, but you can say, like, if you are bad at hitting reply all when you mean reply, you can switch the default behavior. That will help that out. If you like stars, you can say preset. You can use all the stars. You can use only 4 stars, and you can say I want the yellow and the red, and you drag it up, and then it would be these 5 things, and these are the ones in use. You just drag up and down once you set a certain amount, and you see you can go over and above and just use the markers that you want to use. But this is the other one. This is the signature. This is where you can set up a signature, an automatic signature that it will append to the end of all your emails. You can also add images in here that you can upload from your computer or anything that you already have in Google Drive. So for example, I'm on my Mac here, and I'm going to drag in just like a fun picture. So it'll upload, and then it's added it to the bottom. Now this is way too big. So when I click on it, see, I've got that. I can change the size. I'm going to turn it to small. And then the last thing is the vacation responder, or the also known as the out of office responder. You can turn it on and off here. And what it does is it will go to today's date. So you can either you can even set this to like turn on a few days later, and then the last day will be, whenever you set it. And when you turn it on, there will be a notification across the top to remind you that it's turned on. And that is configuring your inbox and your basic settings in Vacation in Gmail, including the vacation responder, the signature, and a few other things. Hopefully this has been useful for you and you're getting more comfortable with your Gmail. The last thing you want to do in all your settings is click Save Changes. When you're back to your inbox, you know you're in the right place. Happy Googling.